Okay, I wanted to start this one a little bit vloggy because my room here, it's not really my bedroom, but it's like my room in the house has really been developing, and I just wanted to show you guys the updates. So check it out. A lot of work has gone into my meditation altar. I got this chair, which is famous on Instagram and TikTok. And this is a new addition, and this has been really cool because it's almost been taking on this sort of significant purpose. So I'll do some reading on this desk in the morning as well as some writing, and it feels like very almost sacred. So that's been really cool. And then here is more of like the workhorse setup where I do Zoom calls and things like that. And so it's just kind of been interesting for me to have this separation. This desk I almost will flow into before or after meditation because I'll sit here and do my meditation journal and sort of soak in some wisdom and inspiration either before or after my meditation. I also got these two new paintings from my friend Luna, who's taking meditation teacher training with me. Got the pothos in here. Overall, yeah, it's just feeling quite nice. And then I wanted to show you the meditation station because I've talked about this on the podcast, but I've never really showed it to you. So this is actually where I sit down every morning and most evenings to meditate. I've got my cushion right here, and I'll just kind of leave it there on the floor. And this has been going a long way for me just because these books have been so significant on my spiritual journey and my journey of meditation. All of these books have had a big impact. This is Trungpa, and I've spoken about his books and their impact on me in many episodes. Of course, Ram Dass, who was like, I feel like I remember being really early on to my spiritual journey and finding a Ram Dass lecture on YouTube, and just like suddenly, I guess I had the karma to hear his words and what he was saying, and I was just like having these mind-blowing experiences listening to Ram Dass for the first time. So he will always be with me as one of my more prominent teachers. Of course, Buddha figure, reminder of my true potential. Other significant books, Love Note. These have been great recent additions. We have the departed loved ones, two pets of mine, Pocket having the third eye, and my grandpa. So having sort of a sacred meditation space, and I'll light a candle and usually incense as well, really helps me sink right into my meditations. And as I've mentioned on the podcast, I'll start getting emotional sometimes before I even sit down, just seeing these images. It's sort of a representation of the effort I'm doing here. And yeah, so it's been cozy here with those updates. And then maybe I'll sit down with the mic now. Okay, and then I think I'm going to go with this setup for the mic recording. This actually feels quite cool. I definitely need to do some sound work. It's a little bit echoey, but putting on these should actually make me feel better about that. Yeah, it does. Okay, so I got an awesome question on the last episode of the podcast that I'm going to answer. So this is from John. In coming episodes, can you touch more on the momentary decision of choosing love over fear in your day-to-day life? How do I choose love more and more until it becomes an absolute? Is this even possible? I feel as if I'm often so distracted by my ego, by the monkey mind, by external circumstances, etc. And when I'm distracted, fear often prevails over love for me automatically. Example, choosing to doom scroll on TikTok rather than simply putting my phone down. Choosing to grab unhealthy food out instead of cooking at home, etc. I recognize that these little moments are so important to my life as a whole, so I'm curious to hear more of your thoughts on how to choose love over fear more frequently in your day-to-day life. Thank you, John, for the beautiful question. This is like right up my alley because it's sort of exactly what I've been working with on my spiritual journey lately. Okay, so in the first part of your question, you said, can you touch on the momentary decision of choosing love over fear in your day-to-day life? How do I choose love more and more until it becomes an absolute? Is this even possible? So I think that it is possible to choose love more and more until it becomes absolute. Essentially what we're doing is we're rehabituating our mind. So for much of our lives thus far, we have habituated ourselves into patterns of listening to fear and choosing fear over love in all of these different little scenarios in our lives. this actually is the path. It is in these little moments that we take forward steps on the spiritual path, on the path towards being better, towards being whole, towards being love. And the goal is for this to become absolute. We want to completely habituate our minds towards love. So I just want to give you some examples of how this looks in my life. And I literally see this as my frontier. Like when these moments arise and I know them and I feel them and I know I have a choice, and I suspect that many of you listening do too, I feel as though that is my frontier. When I'm faced with this choice to choose a fearful pattern or choose to break out of it and choose love, choose expansion, choose limitlessness, whatever you want to say, when I take that higher path, that is everything right there. That is truly everything. And it can come up in very simple ways. So like one of the most common ones for me is I'll be walking around in public or even having the desire to like record a YouTube video or record a podcast. And I want to express myself. I want to say something that I think is going to help someone. I want to be myself. I want to do my thing. And almost always there's a voice that comes in, a voice of fear and limitation that will try to convince me why I shouldn't do it because it's embarrassing. In the case of this video, the biggest voice in my mind was that my girlfriend can hear me. A lot of the times when I'm walking around and I have a post idea, something I want to say, the limitation or the fear voice is about people who might walk by me on the sidewalk as I'm recording and wonder what I'm doing. And then a lot of the times after I've expressed myself and I'm ready to actually post it and put it out into the world for people to see, the fearful voice that comes in tells me that I'm going to annoy people, or it's stupid and I've said the wrong things, and people are going to judge me. I'm going to lose friends. I'm going to lose followers. I'm not going to get a lot of likes, this sort of thing. Right? And I'll give you more examples. So one I've been working with recently that I think I've mentioned already is I've been trying to just be a more open, a more loving, and a friendlier presence as I walk around in public, as I interact with businesses and walk down the sidewalk. Like I want to look at people more and smile at people and say hello and say, how's it going? And make little conversation with people at local businesses and things like this. And it's been a conscious effort of these little moments of like, there are impulses, there are intuitive hits where you're like, I want to say hello to this person, or I want to look at this person and I want to smile. But then the habit, the patterns you've habituated will make you look away, look down, will make you shy away, will make you hide. These patterns will make you not speak up because it's what we've been doing for years and years and years. But when that moment strikes, when that little moment strikes, where I see, there's a level of awareness that is there because of all the spiritual work that we've been doing. Whatever it is for you, studying meditation is huge for me. The more I meditate, the more I have these moments of awareness in these key moments in life. It's when I want to make that social media post and suddenly I see the whole predicament. I see the whole fearful side of me and I see the whole loving side of me. When the awareness is really strong, I see both sides happening at the same time very clearly, and I can be like, oh, I'm going to choose this one because this is the better path. This is the path that is expansive and loving and joyous, and this is the path I want to go down. This is who I want to become so that I can be of more help to other people, so that I can set an example of how we can show up in this world. Obviously, that is the way. Okay, so the awareness has to be there. And if you even have the awareness in these little moments, you're ahead of the game. You're in a great position because now you have a choice. You know what the right answer is. That the right answer is love. It's never fear. The right answer is love. So you get the awareness, you flex the awareness muscle, in my opinion, with daily meditation. Because you're literally working out the same muscle in your mind of noticing when you're distracted. It's literally like working out your biceps. When you're trying to focus on your meditation object and some insane narrative comes into your mind and you get distracted and you notice, oh, I'm being distracted, let me come back to my breath. That's the muscle. It's catching a distraction. You could reframe fear in your daily life as a distraction. Meditation builds the muscle of catching when you're being distracted. Then I think the next element here is courage. You have to have the insight that knows, you have to have the wisdom that knows that you should choose love. Okay, and then you have to have the courage and I guess you also have to have the wisdom to know why it's worth pushing through the discomfort and choosing love. And I'll give you some of that wisdom right now. If you choose love in that little tiny moment, you're going to make it easier for yourself to choose love the next time. It's that one step, and we have these opportunities probably hundreds of times per day. Taking that one step, choosing that love one time, is the step up on an upward spiral that you can begin right now. Choosing fear or choosing stagnancy, unfortunately, is doing just that. You're either stepping down a downward spiral if you're going with the fear route, or if you're choosing stagnancy, you're stagnating. Okay, but we have these opportunities constantly. It's when you're walking down the sidewalk and you feel like you want to say hi and smile to someone. It's when you have something you want to express on social media and this fear comes in about why you shouldn't do it. That's the moment. If the awareness is there and you see the fear and the love, this is the moment where you can change your entire world. So do it. Do it. Habituate love. Habituate love. Make the choice. Meditating every day for me is the backbone. It creates the backbone. It creates the insight. It creates the courage. It creates the wisdom. It propels me into that decision. Not only meditation, but also Sangha, spiritual community. That helps a lot as well. And it's and these little moments, if you've noticed, our life is comprised of the little moments. You said that nicely in your question. These little moments comprise our life. These little moments are the frontier where we can choose expansion and love. And it never has to end. If you keep building courage, if you keep building momentum, if you keep choosing love in these small moments, it will get easier to do it the next day and the next day and in more and more and more little moments until it becomes the new thing that's habituated. I'm coming to a place where these little moments are happening, and sometimes I don't even need to tap into my awareness. It's just love. It's just love. This is not all the time, but it's happening more and more, and I'm seeing it happening, and it's absolutely mind-boggling. But it took a lot of stepping through some really harsh discomfort. When I was first posting these kind of newer social media posts, when I was really in a fear hole, it was immensely uncomfortable to choose love in these little moments because I was really deep. And I really was in that hole, and it was really scary to do anything but choose fear. So the first time you do this in a while, if you've really been in a downward spiral or in a lull or in a period where you've lost your faith, whatever you want to call it, that first time is going to be quite tough. But look, do it as an experiment. Framing it as an experiment and just to see what happens is a great way to snap your mind out of it. And then leave your experience in the comments. We're building an awesome supportive community here. So you have support, you have people who are doing the same thing. I'm doing the same thing. I'm working really, really hard at this in all of these little moments. Social media, walking down the sidewalk, showing up for friends, showing up for family, showing up for loved ones. It's work. It is work, but this is the path of habituation. We have the insight. We have the wisdom. Oh my God, let's choose love, but we have to acknowledge that our mind is habituated to the opposite, and we have to consciously change the neural pathways in our brain by choosing love in these moments where we are lucky enough to have cultivated enough awareness to even see that we have a choice. Because in many moments, we don't have that awareness. We just get triggered and we react in fear. So it's beautiful to have the awareness. Take the opportunity. Take the opportunity. You can do it. I believe in you. Thank you for asking that question, John, because it's just perfect for what I'm experimenting with right now. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share that. And I hope you found value and insight and motivation in what I just said. Okay, and then going off that question, I'm going to elaborate a little further because there's one more thing I've really been thinking about, and it's perfectionism. And I think we must make perfectionism our mortal enemy and defeat it at all costs. Because let's look at these little moments. For me, a lot of them come up in terms of creation, expression, and posting myself on the internet. Okay, that's just the reality of what it is for me. That's where my frontier lives in many ways, right? So much of the fear that threatens to stop me dead in my tracks, to stop my expansion, to stop my expression of love, so much of that fear is related to perfectionism. Feeling like I need to say exactly the right thing, feeling like the shot needs to be perfect, it needs to be said perfectly, eloquently. Nobody can think that I'm stupid. Nobody can think that I said it wrong. It has to be perfect. That is horseshit. Okay, so let me give you a great example. All 80 people in this meditation teacher training are now incredible meditation teachers, and we were all scared shitless on our first Sunday to teach meditation. We were thrown into it, we weren't expecting it, and we were more or less forced to do it, even though we had no idea what we were doing. I'm sure most of us, so much of that fear of just showing up and being thrown into it and trying to teach a meditation, so much of that came from this feeling that we had to be good at it in order to try it. But here's the thing. We had to get through that. We absolutely had to get through that first uncomfortable, shitty guided meditation. And we did it again and again and again and again. And we started getting better. And now we're all... Sundays in class now are ridiculous. Every single person is an incredible meditation teacher. And we all had to break through perfectionism and show up and do a bad job the first time. So speaking about those little moments, and this relates to the journey I've been going through on expressing myself authentically on social media, I had to drop the perfectionism for the first post. It was the only way for me to just show up. I had to show up in a way that was maybe quote unquote shitty for my own standards the first time. Now what I'm realizing is that, what am I realizing? With the social media, the perfectionism mindset made it really, really scary to show up for the first time. But the thing is, you have to show up even if it's messy. You have to, or else you completely stagnate, if not go backwards. You have to keep showing up. You have to drop perfectionism. Can we read this now? Hey, Julia. Do you want to be in this video? Can you read the big magic quote? Here, right here.
Okay, so I read this book for the first time, I think like 4 years ago, and I just picked it up again. And I read a page to you the other day. Let me find it. A good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan executed next week. Or to paraphrase, a good enough novel violently written now is better than a perfect novel meticulously written never. So let's talk a moment about perfection. The great American novelist Robert Stone once joked that he possessed the two worst qualities imaginable in a writer. He was lazy and he was a perfectionist. Indeed, those are the essential ingredients for torpor and misery right there. If you want to live a contented, creative life, you do not want to cultivate either one of those traits. What you want is to cultivate quite the opposite. You must learn how to become a deeply disciplined half-ass.
That's awesome.
I really like this book. It's hard to remember to do that, actually.
Yeah.
It's hard to get wrapped up in this needs to be perfect, and then you kind of like put it off forever because you never think it's going to be good enough. So you just have to do it. Done is better than perfect.
Thank you, Julia. So, look, this perfectionism voice, this perfectionism fear was coming in before I recorded this episode, this video. If I listen to the perfectionism, I'm not here. You're not hearing any of this. I'm not here. This is not perfect, but I'm like, something is being expressed. And I'm here. I'm here. And do you know what the thing is? It feels amazing to be here. It feels really amazing to be here. But with perfectionism, I'm not here. So I'm like really loving this, like treating perfectionism as a mortal enemy, because I feel like for me, I've identified that as one of the main fears that keeps me from showing up. Show up imperfect. We want to see you. We want to see you. Show up imperfect. Do you have more to say?
It starts by forgetting about perfect. We don't have time for perfect. In any event, perfection is unachievable. It's a myth and a trap and a hamster wheel that will run you to death. The writer Rebecca Solnit puts it well. So many of us believe in perfection, which ruins everything else, because the perfect is not only the enemy of the good, it's also the enemy of the realistic, the possible, and the fun. Perfectionism stops people from completing their work, yes, but even worse, it often stops people from beginning their work. Perfectionists often decide in advance that the end product is never going to be satisfactory, so they don't even bother trying to be creative in the first place. Should I just keep reading it? It's like really good. The whole thing is good.
Well, I want to go off again because, and I'm thinking about meditation teacher training again. We don't need perfect meditation teachers. We need meditation teachers. We need people to teach people meditation now, because people are suffering. People need to meditate. And I'm really proud of everybody in my class for showing up. Here you go.
The most evil trick about perfectionism, though, is that it disguises itself as a virtue. In job interviews, for instance, people will sometimes advertise their perfectionism as if it's their greatest selling point, taking pride in the very thing that is holding them back from enjoying their fullest possible engagement with creative living. They wear their perfectionism like a badge of honor, as if it signals high tastes and exquisite standards. But I see it differently. I think perfectionism is just a high-end haute couture version of fear. I think perfectionism is just fear in fancy shoes and a mink coat, pretending to be elegant when actually it's just terrified. Because underneath that shiny veneer, perfectionism is nothing more than a deep existential angst that says again and again, I'm not good enough and I will never be good enough.
Can I make this savage?
Yeah.
Perfectionism is low-key selfish, because we really need you to show up to help this world. And if you're stuck in being a perfectionist and focusing so much on how others are perceiving you, you're lost in your ego. And I was lost in this exact ego trap for years and years and years and years, and I probably will get trapped in it again. But being stuck in perfectionism is selfish. It's selfish. It's ego-centered. It's focused on, does everyone see me as perfect? Drop how you're being seen. Help other people. Shift it. Just flip it. Just flip it. It doesn't have to be all about you. This has been like a mind blower for me in this training. When you shift to helping other people, a lot of this bullshit drops away because you're getting out of your own way. You're no longer obsessed with yourself. Okay, I think that's it on the unexpected rant on perfectionism and unexpectedly having Julia on. Thank you, Julia.
Thanks.
I'll wind it out here just by saying I love you. Good luck with all this. You're not on this path alone. I'm here with you, trying really hard every day. So let's keep each other accountable, keep each other going. We got this, man. We got this.